The parents of a primary school student are furious this evening about how the institution he attends dealt with an injury which is being described as a close brush with death. The parents say their child was involved in an incident during track and field training one afternoon. They're upset as the school allegedly called the boy's father to come pick up the bleeding child instead of rushing him for medical attention.
A track and field training session at the Victoria Primary School in Linstead St. Catherine last week went terribly wrong. 10-year-old Sanjay Douglas was practicing for the Inter-Primary School Championships when he collided with another student, sustaining serious head injuries. But his father, Dalvern Douglas, says he was shocked when, instead of hearing that his child was being treated, he was called and told to visit the school to collect the bleeding child.
They said that his skull was bent in and he was bleeding from his nose. So I asked them, how can you call me to take the child to the hospital? Why don't you rush with the child to the hospital? She said to me, it's not her responsibility to take my child to the hospital.
Luckily, he says, he was about 5 minutes away, and so he rushed to the school where he saw the gravity of his son's injuries.
My son's forehead was bashed in. You can see the blood on his clothes, and his nose was bleeding. I had to just move with my child, move with him. On the way to the hospital, he started to pass out. Loss of consciousness. By the time he reached the Linstead Hospital, he went into seizure 3 times. The doctors and nurses at Linstead Hospital have had to work overtime to preserve the little boy's life. Preserve him life. Over time they worked. They had to make calls to KPH, Spanish Town, Bustamante. At one time they said they might have to put him on life support.
He says the child had to be transferred to the Kingston Public Hospital for emergency procedures, including x-rays and a CT scan, before being admitted at the Bustamante Hospital for Children for emergency operation. However, it's the inaction of the school's administration that led Mr. Douglas and other parents to protest at the school this week.
They say that it's the Ministry of Education policy that no teacher can move with a child if the child is injured. I want that to clarify and I want that to rectify.
It's a neighbor who took the child to the hospital. He had to call his friend to take the child to the hospital. So, if it's a government policy, it needs to change.
In light of their concern, I contacted the Education Ministry to hear if this is indeed the policy governing student injuries on a school's compound. Director of Communications, Colin Steer, said no.
Depending on the seriousness of the injury, of course. School personnel are expected to take the child to the nearest health center or to a doctor, and the parent or guardian will be contacted to meet the school representatives at the center, at the facility. Sometimes we know that these incidents can take a long time to be addressed, so the child will be left in the care of their parent or guardian. But the initial reaction would be for the school to take the child to the facility.
He said the ministry was still awaiting a report from the Victoria Primary School on the incident, and so he was unable to comment further.